Fingers.
We're live.
Are we?
Yeah.
My screen is still
Supposedly.
all shaded like we're not. Oh, it says go.
You're good.
Where are we streaming, Anish?
That
first
link?
link?
Yeah, I think that link. That link. No, the second link that I sent you.
You think, or you want me to tweet that?
Yeah, sure. Tweet it out.
We're gonna have everybody join in. They're all gonna be participants.
They're gonna be
not the please not the restream one, but yeah.
How's my audio, by the way? Do I sound okay?
Wonderful.
Cavernous.
Not really. Yeah,
Sure,
it's going
put
through
the right
this.
one out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's
One day
cool.
we should just
There we
post
go.
this
It's
link.
live.
One day we should just post this link
Just have
and let everybody in.
16, 20 screens of everybody involved.
Everyone's mic is open. I think that would be great.
That's a great idea.
Oh, man. So we have a lot to catch up on. We haven't potted in a while. Purdue is the number one team in the nation. Oh, no, wait. That was...
Finally, it's about time. You
It's
know
about
what?
time.
The disrespect that was shown to Purdue. We're not number one anymore. Why?
Oh, man. Just by the time...
Somebody... I don't know. Was it in our group? No, I don't think any of us are this mean. Somebody on Twitter said it is the most Purdue thing ever to finally get to number one and then lose to an unranked Rutgers team who's never beaten a top team in there.
Well, if the term Purduing it, I came up with it, I think 5 to 7 years ago when I said, whenever everything is set out before you and everything's perfect and everybody's finally on board and you've got the wind at your back, that's when you poop the bed in dramatic affection.
I don't like that term. Clemson.
I hate that term because it happens. I hate it.
Clemson used to Clemson it. It was Clemsoning, and that's been retired. So all Purdue has to do is win 3 or 4 national championships in football.
Sure.
Or basketball.
Basketball. No, not picky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Where do we begin? How far back should we go?
Let's start at the beginning.
You mean
John Wooden's playing career, I assume, is where you'd like to go?
Oh, yeah.
Pre-exists us by a lot.
I got him right there.
There he is. Welcome to the Boiled Sports Handsome Hour. It is Jay Boiledad and Anish. It is a December holiday edition. I'm wearing my Boiled Sports hat. For those watching the stream, there's a couple hats left.
Get yours now.
Left. Hey, there's still time. There's still time before Christmas to shop in the Boiled Sports OnlyFans store. And you can get yourself some goodies.
You can get a little nice.
Don't advertise the stickers because we might be running out.
We got enough. They come from the Indiana office.
That's right. They come from the central part of the country, so those will get to you no matter where you are very quickly.
Okay.
I've been firing rocks glasses out of here. Just pew, pew, pew.
I don't think that's safe. Is it?
Hey, man, they're getting there. Yeah, Travis Mosley says, I hate big group video chats, even with people I know I like. Yes.
Yeah, but this isn't one of those. This is going to be more fun. We'll be talking about common misery points and things like that, and fun things. But it's mostly a balance. Life is about balance. It's about having great teams, but also suffering the tripping over your extremities.
Great teams like the Purdue football team. Great team. 8-4.
8 wins.
8-win team. Soon to be 9.
You said something, Dowd. Dad, you said something during your last quick cast, which was, was it the first time Purdue football has had 2 All-Americans since
82.
1982?
1882.
Who the hell was on the team in 1982 that was that?
It was Mark Herman and somebody.
Oh, okay.
Like a lineman or something?
I don't know. I mean, it's somebody that literally nobody remembers.
That's astounding. How is that? That's just
how was there nobody on the Rose Bowl era team with those linemen and those defenses? And
I don't know.
Even the Orton teams, like how? Because
you would think because that Orton team, remember they had great defenders, right? Great defensive players. You had Stubblefield and Orton, and like Kudavides and Gardner, and goodness gracious.
But I mean, that's the level of star that's the level of star that Karlaftis and Bell are, which is awesome.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like astounding. It also for Purdue history also.
It's as astounding as not ever being number one to me. It's a similar you're like that's a lot of good teams that have come through those doors that didn't achieve that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it was either like it was similar things, which is that well-timed loss
That's right.
actually usually happened before it was ranked rather than like right after. I had this already, but last week,
We were on hiatus.
life got in the way. But
Mhm.
like, the teams that should have been number one, and every time it was really kind of like all whatever six times that I had listed, it was like either justified, there's another team that was clearly ahead of them,
Right,
or
right.
like they
Bad
had this like
timing, right?
quite a terrible loss and it was bad timing.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly.
mhm.
Um, honestly, the two that 94 was probably the shafted year. That's the one year that you can actually look at it and you can say Arkansas probably, I think they were number two to UNC, and in reality, Arkansas probably should have been either Arkansas or Purdue probably should have been number one. That was a
Mhm.
UNC team with, oh my gosh,
Was that?
the center on the Pistons and on the Blazers, Rasheed Wallace,
That
and
team
they
was nasty, by the way. That North
and
Carolina
they
team was good.
and they flamed out early in
They
the
had the
tournament
great
though.
shooting guard who played forever in the
McCants,
NBA.
right?
Oh,
They
that's
didn't
the
have Antoine
forward.
Jameson on that team, did they?
No, you're too early. You're about 2 years too early.
But yeah, like that team was
Stackhouse and Wallace were on
Stack
that
on that
team.
team. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
they were
Um,
together. That's
yeah.
ridiculous.
It was
and so they
ridiculous.
were really talented, but they flamed out really early. They had a
Mhm.
couple bad losses, and they were kind of coasting off of resume versus, what Purdue and Arkansas that year were. That should have probably, in the last 40 years, that's
Mhm.
probably Purdue's real time that they were shafted for number one.
Mhm.
Every
Mhm.
other time was like what happened last week, which is like, bad losses, or it was just other team, like a great other team that just wasn't
I
undefeated.
wish, I wish they'd gotten number one in a week where they had like 2 games at home. Like that was a tough setup too. You get number one and you got to go
Yeah.
on the road, which
First road
we
game. I mean,
we
first
right.
conference road game for
We can
all of
all
them,
agree that
right?
Rutgers, that's the game you absolutely should win. That's a game you
Dude,
should be pissed
we
off
were
that they lost.
No
But that's a
doubt.
we
good
No
were
doubt.
environment.
we were
And
telling you in the Hammonds era, when that stadium was, or when that gym
when they were
was
bad,
empty, we were
yeah,
like, "Whoa, this could be really cool if
yep,
people actually
yep.
went." And then
And
I
they
think
go,
the second time we went, it
hmm
was, there were people in there, and I was
and it
like,
was
"Wow,
close.
this is like a really
Hmm
rowdy, like big high school gym." Like it kind of had that feel, and I don't mean that in
Yes,
like an insulting way. I mean that it's really cool if
it
you're
it
not going to
Oh,
have
and it's
this.
like it's like Penn State used to be. The fans are absolutely on top of you
it's they're
in
on
that one
top, and
quarter.
it's only 8,000, and it doesn't get as loud as Mackey, but it just feels like there's nowhere to go, and I can't imagine what that feels like on the floor.
Yeah.
But so they get that as the first of those 2 games, and then they got to play a neutral site game against a pretty sprightly NC State team. And I can't help but think about like all I really wanted, because I didn't expect they weren't going to stay number one all season. I didn't have some
No.
idea that they were going to be number one even into the new year necessarily. But I did think I wanted them to do it for more than a week, because I think there have been 8 Big Ten teams that have been number one, and 2 of them, 3 now, only lasted a week. Iowa
Was
and Wisconsin both got there once and were right out of the number one spot. And if Purdue had
eh,
just won that Rutgers game, they'd still be number one. And
Wisconsin very similarly lost on a
To an
neutral
unranked
court to
team.
an unranked team.
2007.
mhm.
A whole, like this happens all the time to
Mhm.
first time ranked,
Sure,
first
I
time
get
number
it.
one ranked teams,
Yeah.
and it's actually like knowing that it happens. Like there's like a dozen examples of it. Is like it's both heartening, because also like those are teams that rebounded from it. Like those
Yeah.
were often teams that like, and you'd rather have it happen early rather than later. So like is all right.
Oh, you know what? If you look back at the end of the year and they get a number one seed, or the best outcome
Which
happens that
they're
we're all
like,
thinking about,
yeah,
I'll be happy to talk to my Rutgers fan, Greg
you
Grad
won.
friends, and say,
Yeah.
you guys had good for you. Good win.
Good
Hey
for
man,
you.
but even like 2 minutes into the game, what I was
Oh,
tweeting was that Steve Peichel is really good, man.
he did a
Like
great job. He's
like
done a great job there.
he is a good for Rutgers basketball. Like talk about manufacturing something out of nothing. 4 straight wins against Purdue. These are 4 good Purdue teams, or at least 3 good Purdue teams, right?
Yeah.
That program, I don't know if you remember, but when Purdue was beating them by 50 with a good Purdue team, but not a Final Four contending Purdue
Hammonds and
team,
Ray Davis, yeah.
like I remember thinking, how are they ever going to be anything but a doormat? I mean, you're obviously not going to lose every game by 50, but you look at that and you're like, the gap between them and the rest of the Big Ten looked like Northwestern football in the 80s, right? Like it looked like just insurmountable. And it wasn't that long ago. And here they are beating Purdue, making the tournament. I agree. I think Peichel has done more than anybody could expect someone to do there. And we'll see what they do. I mean, he's got some talent there too. I mean, that's the other thing. I was kind of, I didn't even realize
they attract guys from New York City. So you get guys that are athletic and can score, right? And so the hard thing that he has is he's tried to teach these guys defense, which a lot of guys come in there and they haven't played defense in their career, right? So
and he has them disciplined, man. Like, I mean, he always has them smart. You know, that's how they beat Purdue 4 straight times, is that he always has them all on the same page.
4 straight times. I didn't realize that.
He's got 2 guys to me, and he's had them for the 4 times they've beaten Purdue that are pros. Those guys are really tough to stop from scoring, right? Even when Purdue has a shutdown defender, it's tough to stop.
And Harper this Purdue team doesn't. This Purdue team doesn't even have an average defender.
Right. The closest to it right now is Morton.
And that's not great.
He's not there. He's not there.
Morton would be a great 4th wing defender. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it is kind of alarming. He's got high IQ. He's knows where to be, knows where position.
I said this to you guys in the group chat when I watched him up close in Brooklyn. He even has the legs of the middle-aged guy at the Y. He just has this. He looks like he's gonna go out there. He's gonna hustle. He's gonna yell at guys. Pick. When you pick, you then roll. I'm gonna pass you the ball.
They're extremely hairy. His legs are extremely hairy.
Like a middle-aged
The hair
man.
is very dark, and his skin is very white.
Yes.
So he looks like a Y player.
His shorts are relatively short for the era we're
Butler,
in.
PA.
I think he wears white sneakers with a black swoosh.
The New Balance, I believe. I'm kidding.
Now listen.
No, but when he's Purdue's best wing defender, it's like Eric Hunter.
Thank God he was there ever since he stayed.
Hope they score 80 or 90 points is basically what you find yourself thinking.
But even then, like it was really just down the stretch. Like during gameplay, it wasn't great. But he was playing better than, again, this is not a great statement, but he was playing better than, Newman was playing. Sasha was having a really bad game until that kind of end stretch.
Except for Trey was having a good game until I think 4 minutes to go. I mean, it was really far down. And when you look at how many points were on the board with like 4 minutes to go, and then they finished with 82, it's how we've said that there have been a few times where they were tight games. Purdue played a lot better than they did against NC State, against like Nova and UNC. And then Purdue's talent and depth wins out because teams just don't have the legs for that. That happened with NC State, but it took the last few minutes, and in overtime it was very apparent, right? Like they were broken and we've been there as Purdue fans. When that game went to overtime,
you knew it was over. Yeah.
If it was the other way around, you would have said it's over. If a team comes back, you owned it. The Purdue didn't lead that game till the final minute, I think.
But that was because Newman didn't have it going, and Morton wasn't really an offensive threat.
Well, nobody had it going except for Williams for a half.
And then Sasha started hitting threes, and then Eric Hunter had those.
Didn't Sasha only hit 1 3 in that closing minute, and then he had that finger roll?
That 3, yes. So those.
So it wasn't like he was doing what Sasha does, which is just like
happened in overtime.
He had nothing until pretty far into the game. Like I want to say, in the last 5 to 7 minutes, he still had 0. So
it's
it's literally like everything that could go wrong offensively went wrong in the last 2 games.
And all it took was a combination of them for just one of them to hit. This is what Michael was saying before, which is like if one of those wings, Sasha, Newman, like Morton, and any of the 3 point. Really, those are kind of the scorers out on the wing. Hunter, I suppose, also.
He's an auxiliary scorer, right? He and Thompson are both auxiliary scorers.
And so if any of them are shooting, and Thompson still seems a little hobbled. right? But
Oh
like,
yeah,
if
yeah.
even one of them had it going, this would have been a win, a gross win, a burn the tape win. But it would have been like in regulation. Now it
But
was like a wow, count yourself lucky, I suppose, but
by
like
the
treat it
way,
like a loss.
I just
Very
want to throw a
lucky.
couple things at you. I stand corrected. Purdue did not lead until Sasha's three,
That
15 seconds into overtime.
mhm.
They didn't lead until then.
It's
They
unreal.
get this. This is the thing. I always look back at the play by play of things because I'm always curious. They were down by eight
Yep.
with three and a
4
half
minutes,
minutes
3
to
minutes.
go,
Yep.
Yeah,
62-54, and they scored 82 points.
yeah, yeah.
You can't. So that's why half the time we'll put a message in our little group that just says, I don't understand. I don't understand anything.
Right.
That's all I know. Because I don't think they could have looked worse for more than three quarters of that game. They looked confused, right? They looked it didn't look like one of those games where,
To
okay,
me,
a
they
couple
look like
guys,
there were guys that just weren't on the same page, right?
yeah. Throwing the ball away,
Yep.
poor communication, getting trapped.
Mistimed. Yeah,
Yeah.
those mistimed entry passes. I mean, like early in
Yeah.
the game, it was Sasha trying to enter it to Edie before Edie had his man sealed. And like all you need to give him is another beat. You all
Yeah.
should know that. Like we've seen the team do this by now. And he just kind of threw it in early. And, like Edie was kind of off balance. The other thing is like, I wonder how I wonder how Edie would have been if those 2 or 3 bunnies early in the game
I don't
just
Yeah,
know.
go down.
exactly.
I mean, he
Because
had
he
great looks,
They were
yep,
good looks. They
yep.
rolled off the rim.
But
Like,
you
and he
guys have
was
noticed what I
strong. He
noticed
was
with
going up.
Edie.
Yeah.
Well, but he was not playing with his passion, right? When he's holding the ball hard, like with his hands, like he means it, and when he's keeping the ball high, he's a different player. He was soft with the ball. He wasn't coming through with any like authority. And then like at about like the Purdue started out 8-0,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And part of it was Edie was just playing really soft. Then he started playing like he should play, but the hole was already dug, right? That was a
Right.
big deal.
Yeah. So it's like, there are a couple of problems with Purdue and the offense. I think the center conversation is like fourth among them. Like, Jaden consistently driving, like, and getting to the free throw line, under control and all of this. That's an issue. Steady 3-point shooting, that's an issue, and perimeter defense is the number one issue, right?
Oh yeah.
Purdue can't stop anybody. What happens when we're struggling against Ron Harper Jr. What happens when Johnny Juzang like
Right.
appears in the tournament, right, in the Elite Eight or Final Four? Like that becomes a matchup nightmare, and you just kind of hope you have to outscore them. Now you have the guns, but it's like
So there's a comment over here. John Younger talks about intensity, and he sees Trey and Ivy were the two guys that are awake. And I think if you're seeing Ivy as awake, you're ignoring half of the ball. And I said this to you guys on our internal conversations. Ivy was good offensively, and he was a liability defensively for much of that game.
he was
And Painter
gambling.
talked
He
about
was
it.
the free safety, yeah. And Painter talked
Right.
about it without saying it. Yeah.
He's getting like you said. I think you had a great quote, which was, "You can't go for those steals unless you're Ivy." And even Ivy can't go for those steals because as soon as you go that far out and you're not in position, now the rotation becomes really slow and sloppy, and now they're going to get an open look, right? It happened
It works.
over and over and over.
It works when you have a team like with Dakota Mathias and Vincent Edwards, and
Yeah.
you've got good wing defenders like kind of that can overhelp, and then you
Yep.
have kind of a free
Yep.
safety, which is what Carson often did. Carson either often got beat or he was the free safety,
Mhm.
but he had wing defenders that could kind of cover for him.
That's a great point because Carson did the exact same thing that Ivy did. He was looking for the breakaway all the time, right? He knew that if he could get cooking on that, then good things would happen elsewhere. And he was a momentum player just like Ivy. The difference is he had 4 defenders around him who were dogs, right?
Mhm.
They were beasts. And now we don't really have that. Now, here's the question. Let me ask you two a question. Will Purdue's defense catch up like it does generally in January? Will we see this defense hit its stride? I don't feel like this team has it in them. I may be wrong, but I don't feel
I
like
don't
it.
think it has the individuals, but these are
Right.
smart players,
Yep.
and really it just takes so we say buy-in from Ivy. It's not necessarily buy-in, it's the burden of being the star like he is that he is the engine of the offense, and
Sure.
he's also being asked to be the engine of the defense, and that's just like tiring. Now, the benefit is that he doesn't have to play 40 minutes a game. That's how deep this Purdue team is. And ideally, you're going to have a double-digit lead that you can bench him for, and like you can have him get some breather. But you know, asking we he's so good that we often forget that he's 19 years old. And this is his second year play, or like this is kind of functionally, his second year playing this. That was his first Big Ten road game with a crowd, um, and being asked to be the best perimeter defender and the engine of Purdue's perimeter offense takes a lot of gas. That is what
And
you're
he's playing
hoping.
more minutes than anybody too.
He's still playing more minutes than
Right.
anybody. And that is kind of what you're hoping for to kick in, in the middle of Big Ten season, in the middle of January, right? Which I think it can. They have pieces. Newman has good length. Sasha has good length. Like, all they need to do is be in good position. As much as I love Trey, he is often a liability on defense. I mean, like, letting people get by him, not having his hands up, going for steals. Now it paid off that at the end of the
Exactly.
game.
You're bringing
But
up that play that he was in bad position on two of those final plays that stopped NC State from scoring because he was going for the steal. He was getting in the passing lane, which you can't really afford to do that deep in that defense, right? When he does it, he's out of position generally. He's already stepped around his man. And so if that ball gets through, it's an easy dunk.
And there's nobody, nobody to help really. The power forwards, like, the other thing. So honestly, like the biggest thing is that the perimeter defense and the shots weren't falling, right? But the thing that kind of went unnoticed is that, like, Caleb First finally started playing like a freshman, right? Like, Caleb First finally started playing like, hey, this was his first time playing high level college basketball.
So do you think that's because I don't think it's fatigue. I don't think it's that. I think it's the pressure pushing down on you of an away game. Is that it? Is it that simple, or is it
his first major away game with a big crowd, right? I mean, like, all of the other big ones were neutral court, right?
Yep.
And he'll get better. That's actually, so I say this even though I think Trey's going to end up in the starting lineup against Butler. But like, I could see Gillis starting, over First, like as a decision Painter makes before the center decision.
He's a starter. I mean, this isn't a slap in the face.
Gillis? Yeah, no, Gillis is a starter. Yeah,
so Williams is a starter. Hunter is even a starter. If you bring in a starter to start because they're playing better, it's not so disrespect. It's just saying this guy's playing better ball right now.
So the center thing is interesting because we have like 2.5 years of a track record of Trey starting games off really slow, and Zach's and now like a year of Zach starting games really quickly.
Right.
The problem is now we have like 3 or 4 games like of Trey being the best player on the team, and Edie starting a little slow, and so I don't.
Trey's different this year, though. Wouldn't we all agree?
I only would have. I mean, like, that was my point a couple of weeks ago, which is when it was, this is Trayvion's team, but like the NC State game was when he showed
let me jump in on that. So he got 33 minutes. Edie had 12. He was 10 of 14 from the floor. I know you know most of this, but I just love reading this. 22 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. Like, what? Like,
hey,
how blocks even in there?
Speaking of
things, he had 5 on. I can't. Maybe you guys understand this. He had 5 on the official block count, and then they took 1 away after the thing was finally released, which always bothers me because I'm like,
how did
5 looks plumper, looks more sexy.
Biggie, how did he not ever get a triple double? Because I was saying, like, they were 1 away. Like, this was another stat that kind of blew me away, which was like he was 1 away from Purdue's first triple double since whatever. And I was like, how
really?
Biggie never got one? Is that
Joe Barry Carroll was the last double?
That's it.
Their triple double.
And it's
Joe
like,
Barry Carroll.
And Biggie, like how with all of the Biggie games, and he was a really good passer. Like,
Right.
how did he not do it? But
Like, it
I don't
makes
know.
sense. Like, if you look at the other guys, you say Glenn Robinson, you can say Juwan Johnson. They all had Carson Edwards. All these guys had parts of their game. You're like, okay, it makes sense. Carson wasn't a rebounder. Glenn Robinson never passed to anybody. Like, okay.
I
But
bet Glenn Robinson had a lot of double doubles.
yeah.
Imagine
Long list.
Imagine how quickly Katie would have called a timeout and started yelling at Big Dog if he passed it out to anybody except Konzo.
Maybe
Exactly.
Konzo, but yeah.
You know what I mean?
Waddell. Well, he could bomb the three too.
Ooh, I don't know.
He's
Konzo.
wide
Man,
open.
Waddell
maybe,
was
yeah.
automatic. That was the thing, and that was the only thing that, like, I mean, he didn't create his own shot. He brought the ball up, get it, and then he'd go
Steve
set up in
Kerr.
the corner. Bang.
Four people were guarding inside.
Exactly.
You're bound to have one open.
No doubt.
But like Biggie, like that doesn't make any daggum sense. Like it seems like Biggie should have gotten a triple double, and so I'm kind of rooting for it for Trey now.
Oh heck yeah, that was it. I mean, he was one assist away.
I think.
But by the way, the one thing we didn't talk about yet.
Mhm.
So they were 12 of 47 from deep for the week. Oof.
I mean,
Man.
that's
Composite, what, 26%, 25%, something like that?
It's really bad.
But stunningly, you go to KenPom, and I'm pretty sure they still have the number one offense in the country.
They do.
And I mean, like, so that kind of tells you
Like I said, I
that
don't know
it's
anything.
not. So when it says kind of returning to, regressing to the mean, that doesn't mean that this is who Purdue is anymore. It just means that it's somewhere in between Purdue's really hot start and now. That still means that the average of them, or wherever that middle ground, is still the best offense in the country.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they're going to shoot 45% from three as a team.
Right. But you will have guys like Sash who will go 4 or 5 games in a row shooting 45 to 50% from three.
I mean,
Newman, by the way, Newman looks as off as he's looked since he got on campus, and he's a good shooter. He's not okay. He's a good shooter. Thompson can't shoot right now, and we can say that's his injury too. So you have 3 guys who can really shoot. They all shoot differently, right? I mean, Thompson shoots when he's open because of his height, right? But the other guys, they can shoot, and nobody's shooting well right now. That just tells me somebody asked the question, is Purdue done blowing teams out? I think they're going to beat the living hell out of one of the next 3 games.
I think
just
Butler. Butler is good. They're not as good as they were kind of in past years, but Butler is still a strong team. I think this team kind of finds its way versus Butler. I don't think Indianapolis is as much, especially against Butler. I don't think Indianapolis is as much of a issue as it was in the past for this Forsaken tournament, which by the way,
because of the nature of Notre Dame right now too, right? I mean, like, you're not going to attract a ton of fans. They're not as good. No. IU, well, they got the delusional fans in Indianapolis all the time, right? So it's going to be a quasi road game.
Can I ask you a question? Does IU have the best front court in the country?
Does IU have the best of anything in the country?
Hey, they were second.
Logos.
They were second place in also receiving votes. Don't forget, they were ranked number 2 in also receiving votes.
Isn't there an article about there someplace, or a book about that someplace, about them almost being 25th? Because I bet IU would.
That's what I'm saying. They seriously, that was a headline.
It was a headline in the preseason. Jeff Rapjohns was like, IU second places number 2 in also receiving votes.
It's great.
It's like, what? Really? Okay.
It's kind of true. Definitely, technically, we're number 2. Yeah.
But no, I think, and what I'm really hoping for, I have full confidence in Sasha. Every time he shoots, I'm still convinced it's going in. He hasn't done enough to say, to dissuade me from that. That dude,
right.
He's got enough of a track record. I am hoping that the Butler game is some sort of return to form for Newman. I really want him to kind of round back into it. I want to see a good game from him. So I'm hoping this one's it.
Well, if you listen to Painter, I've been listening to his post-game comments for the last couple. He does not believe there's something major happening that's a problem. He thinks it comes down to shot selection. I think he's right. I think it's pretty simple. Take bad shots. Don't do things within the offense. Getting out of form in the offense, because You can't even get the ball across half court really matters. I think that's probably the biggest problem still. I mean, when Purdue, I keep saying this in
I
the
mean,
quick cast, when Purdue figures out how to beat a trap, which is not difficult, it's just you got to help. You got to put help in the middle. You got to put a relatively big man in the middle. It doesn't have to be a center, but somebody in the middle, grab the ball, get it right back to that guy, and you've beaten the.
I
Don't
mean,
panic. Don't
so
go in the corner.
two notes there, which is spot on. One was that I think a large part of Newman's difficulties were those kind of poor shots. Like a couple of his threes, I don't mind as much as other people early shot clock threes. If you have a good shot, just take it. It's fine. But Newman took a couple of those early shot clock threes that were very bad, like that were contested, that weren't in the flow of the
And he
offense,
airballed
that needed
one.
an extra pass, and he airballed
I
one.
mean,
And it
like by
really
two
does look
feet.
like
It wasn't close.
it
I
really
couldn't
does
believe it
look
was
like
him
he's just
shooting that.
searching. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just seems like he's searching. And then
Yep.
the second thing is every time and I think all of them were towards J Money's side. J Money was on his traditional baseline courtside seats.
Back where he
He was
belongs.
back to where where he usually belongs.
The other thing didn't work. What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to keep
You don't
doing
go
what
back to the same thing. If
they've
it's
lost
right, you
one
broken,
game
can't
this
fix
year,
it.
and it's when
you
I
do
was up in the
Exactly.
in the
300s.
nosebleeds in the 12th row instead of the third.
Yeah,
No,
that's what it
but
was.
it's that a big, usually Trey, flashing to the middle or setting a high, meaning like before half court ball
Right.
screen for
Right.
Ivy. And all of a sudden, the defense either collapses on Ivy or is afraid. It's almost like they part because they're afraid of the kick out because he does it
Mm-hmm.
so often. And Ivy ends up with a real nice layup or slam, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like high ball screens or even like high dump offs and get it right back to him. That's like that gets Jaden Ivey rolling downhill. Um, and
And it changes defenses, right? If you flush on a team a couple times, then they start really retreating to the basket. Then you leave shooters open. It just everything starts working. It's
man,
all comes down to point guard play, getting the ball across the court in a comfortable manner where you're not like running around with your hair on
yes,
fire.
Purdue needs
They just got to
Purdue
figure it
needs Purdue needs Mackey like right now. And like that's the
out.
other
Right.
thing is like there's a game in Mackey like what you're saying. I mean, same thing John Faker is saying right here, which is the offenses look completely different and kind of out of sorts. They weren't moving. Really, it is just like just a quick dose of Mackey, before a couple, or we have what Incarnate Word and Nichols, coming up, which is nice. And then I think is it a home game? Like, is it home versus Wisconsin? Is the kind of first
I
game
think so.
into
I think so
Big Ten
because
season? That'll
is
be
it?
nice.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
So
So they play what 3 in a row at home? Is that true?
I do think it's 3 in a row at home over New
Yep.
Year's.
Yep.
So like right after the Butler game, which is in Indy, which is kind of friendly confines now.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of Purdue fans are going to show in whatever the field house is called now.
It's called the Gain Bridge.
Gainbridge. That's not
Gainbridge
easy to
is it? I
say.
think it's an investment company, but they have made many monies in their investment processes because they've been sponsoring everything. So
We should get our name on one of these
it's
arenas.
just a matter of time, really. Anish. It's not going to be
Yeah.
any. It's not a problem.
Crypto.com is now the Staples Center. All we got to do is invest in some of these fake coins.
Or invent something that really doesn't matter and doesn't mean anything, and then have a bunch of morons just buy in, and then
Boiled
you're
coin.
rich.
Come
Boiled
on.
coin.
No, but then we'd be defrauding our people. We don't want to do that.
No, that
Boiled
seems
coin.
wrong. Boiled coin.
Black and gold currency.
Is boiled coin worth anything? Of course not.
Never
Neither
was.
is anything they've done for the last 15 years.
Hey, again, astounding stats. This year was the first year that you all have podcasted about a ranked Purdue football team.
That is true.
That's a big deal. I don't know.
Things are again. So things are bad, like in that sense, because Purdue, tripped over themselves, like right when they got the number 1 seed. Purdue's still on track to be top 4. I think Purdue to finish the season top 4. Purdue is still top 4, like still getting top 4 votes. There's no real consensus, number 1. Baylor is good, but kind of they're not perfect season good.
It's impossible for them to lose, guys.
Who
Baylor.
Baylor or yeah?
They'll
I
never
mean,
lose again.
they've got Scott Drew. Who's ever doubted Scott Drew? We
Well,
all knew he
nobody.
was a great coach.
Exactly. He's the greatest coach. This is the thing. I think as much as we can put that idea in the atmosphere that it's impossible for Baylor to lose, when they lose to Kansas State, we can just kind of worm our way one step closer to one again. And then maybe there's a good team in the ACC like NC State who, do us a favor, do us 2 favors in a year. One, give us a game we don't deserve, and then beats Duke.
A Duke would be nice. A Duke win would be very nice. Nobody comes to Bullet Sports Ross-Ade Stadium, says Nate.
Well, you don't even know, Nate. We've been in conversations with Mike Babinski for minutes just now. It just started.
Oh yeah.
As they're going to add things onto the stadium, better fan experience. They talk about that. What better experience could it be other than having our faces plastered all over everything?
Just everywhere, just on every surface,
on your seat. You sit. Wait, I'm not going to say that, Joe.
Wait, what? Just
okay.
So Purdue. So here's a quick yes or no. Purdue number 1 again this season.
No. Jay?
I think probably not. I'm going to go with no. I think there's more of I didn't think there'd be any chance. Then when I saw they're only dropped to 3 after that kind of week.
They should have dropped further.
Rankings. Everybody loves Painter.
Everybody loves Painter. At the end of that NC State game, they earned some of it back. They definitely did. You and I were talking about.
I don't think they're there yet. This is the problem, right?
Because I'm big about Purdue teams never are in December.
That's true. This is true.
I mean, the Elite
February.
Eight team
Paint owns February. Purdue owns February.
Think about it that way. If they get better, and your question earlier about the defense, I don't know if we ever closed that loop. You had said, do you think they'll get better like Purdue defenses do?
Right.
Yes, they definitely will. Yeah. No, they don't have the defenders that those Carson teams did, right? So both things can be true. The defense is going to get better. Purdue's going to hit they're having, think of it that way, guys. They're not near their stride yet, which is kind of amazing to think about.
And they've been number 1.
So I don't really care if they don't get back to number 1. I want to stay top 5 all season.
I don't either.
That's my wish list. Let's quietly fly along at 3, 4, 2. Like just
stick around that top 4.
Lose a game, drop from 2 to 5. Whatever.
I think Purdue ends up. I think Purdue ends up number 1 again, exactly in February, just like
all in.
In February.
A stands for all in.
I like it.
All in Ramaswamy.
I already said I'm in, baby. I'm in this year.
He is all the way in.
And I'm in, but my focus has shifted. Like you guys saw, I really wanted that number 1 badly for history's sake.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was it. That was really
you got it. Now, that's all you wanted. You just wanted it. You just wanted it. You didn't say you wanted to keep it.
Early in the year, another thing that we were asking. Another thing we were asking was when Purdue was kind of on their run and looking impossible to beat, we were like looking at that Wisconsin game and saying, will Purdue's first loss be before or after that Wisconsin game? And I think all of us were like kind of looking at it and we're like, before. That we can't really go into into that game.
But you were looking at Michigan. I was looking at Wisconsin, but that still puts them into January.
It was we were looking over under the Michigan game, and I was thinking Wisconsin would be one that would be dropped. But like you drop
or Rutgers, we all had that one. We were like, it's gonna.
Nobody comes into the rack. We've been saying this for years.
Who hasn't said that exactly?
Man, I got to tell you, the one thing they did right, I love a Jersey Mike sub. I do.
Delicious, toasty.
It's not bad. By the way,
I go there. See, Jimmy John's is a good place, but if I need a warm sub like on a chilly day, I'll go there.
Jersey Mike's Arena, baby. Nice. I just have to give some credit to some of the creativity. You were coming up with the different things, the Purdue sponsorships. We have Mark Garrity, the Boiled Sports Cigar Lounge, Steve McCabe, Boiled Desk Sports Marketing, BDSM, I think is where he's going with that. For those of you who didn't catch on to that, the J Money Bourbon Tasting Porch south of Roman Field at Boiled Sports Ross-Ade Stadium.
I like that. That's catchy.
Oh, yeah, that's the South End Zone. That's Morgantown, baby.
Well, then John Faker says the Boiled Sports Analytics Desk at the South Ross-Ade Pavilion, which nobody goes to.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Brought to you by
Perfect. There's plenty of
Sports.
space. We're being told again that the South End Zone is going to happen.
Yep.
Are we?
Yep.
I mean, like, I suppose Mike Babinski's the one saying
3
that
phases.
now, so
3 phases.
first one or
Phase
phases?
1
First
will
phase
be
one,
I
non-existent.
get a seat back. That's the phase 1. And that's going to be a good phase because the seats are tight.
Is
They're
that true?
tight in 104.
They're
No,
going to put
that's-
seat backs in?
no, I have to buy the damn seat back. But it's not that expensive. It's like $75 for a season or something silly, I think. need to get that.
What is money? Just get it, man.
I'm just going to have Jay give me a low interest loan.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
it's $75 for you to have better back health, I will do that. That's fine.
We can sponsor it. Can we? We can get Gridiron
Sponsor
to
Blow
it.
Dad's lower
Exactly.
back. Yeah. Yeah.
Before a game,
You can
I like
sponsor
to go,
a vertebrae.
That's right.
L3 sponsored by John Fagan.
AJ's by AJ's.
Exactly. By AJ's. The AJ's beef is L4.
It's pretty beef. It's a beefy L4.
The beef would be
I can tell you that
lower.
much.
That'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be some of the bottom, the lumbar. Yeah. Yeah.
AJ's, eataj's.com.
Yeah.
You'd get
Who
that
would want to be
stencil
associated
right
with my
there.
back fat?
Who would want to be associated with your back fat? Bring in Gridiron Metalworks. GridironMetal.com.
No doubt.
It's
Would
gridironmetalworks.com. And if you enter Boiled at checkout, you get 15% off. You can get anything there. You can get spatulas. You can get grates. You can get planters. You can get
Posters.
Stuff that, you can get pictures of Derek. You can get pictures of Paul and Derek. You can get cooking hints and tips. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Those are free.
Those are free. Exactly.
The pictures, too. Just ask them.
Yeah. I don't give you that.
Happy Raised says he bought his old man a Gridiron Grill Grate last week. I hope his dad's not listening. With coupon code Boiled Sports, he's going to love it. Do you guys know if you enter
damn
Boiled
right he will.
Sports at checkout, you get 15% off?
Just
of
boiled.
your-
I think
Inner
it's just
boiled.
boiled.
Sorry. That's why I don't do the ad reads anymore.
They're boiled.
Boiled at checkout, you get 15% off.
Yep.
Tell them Boiler Dad sent you, and
Yep.
you get a griddle with his. No, I'm not even going to say what's on
They
there.
don't do that yet.
Um,
They don't do that yet.
Oh man, John Younger says to just be sure to sear that back fat on both sides.
That's what Gridiron's good. And then right after that, you can cover it with a nice soft Martin vintage shirt.
Tom Parker says, "Hold on, a BS hat. Where can I send my money?" Hey man, there's only like 2 or 3 left. There's
Boiled
not
Sports
many.
fans only site.
BoiledSports.onlyfans.com.
You can get it in the Boiled Sports store on boiledsports.com. Which
How many sponsors can we piss off with one 5-minute segment is really the question. Even our own sponsorship at our wonderful fan shop.
Why would we piss them off? Because we're misrepresenting everything?
Because we're doing just an awful job.
Look,
there's
no
they know
bad,
what they bought. They know
such
what
thing
they're
as
getting
bad
into.
press. Exactly. You partner up with us. Come on, you know.
Well, let's think. Adam is not here. Generally, Adam is live in the margins with us. And he's not here today. Yeah, he is. He's not here. That's 2 in a row. He slacked at the quick cast, and then he's slacking at the handsome hour.
Look at this.
So he's going to get what he gets.
Other thing, here's something that I want to tell all of you listeners. Just go and subscribe to the Boiled Sports YouTube page. If you want to get us something for Christmas, just hit a subscribe button, hit that little bell, hit like so that it'll appear on the YouTube machines on Purdue fans. Purdue material is hot right now. The algorithm wants to put Purdue stuff up there, and why not put Boiler Dad's face on more people's feeds?
Dylan Kuhn in the chat. He joined. He said hello. Dylan reps the BS hat all the time. I don't know if you guys have seen that. He wears it everywhere, every game. He wears it all. It's his go-to hat.
His fiance must love Boiled Sports because she sees BS all the time. All the time. All the time. He's getting married, I think, in the spring. Mm-hmm. And I've literally seen 5 to 10 pictures of him with his fiance in the BS hat. So he's putting his money where his mouth is.
The proprietor of the Bearded Builder.
Yep, that's an up and coming Purdue business right there. That's
friend of the program.
About that.
Yeah, it
friend
is.
Of the program.
So do we have Twitter questions quickly before we go?
We do. So you guys remember that I just in a whimsical way one night said haikus, and people sent in amazing haikus. So I decided I would.
All these engineers, they're like
they're artists. They're all
poets.
smart. They're smart, dude. That's all that matters. You're smart, bruh.
It's true. That's true.
How many English majors could do engineering stuff? Let me ask you that.
0.
Not too many.
I'm glad the two non-engineers are the ones singing the praises of the engineers on this.
Hell
on this
yes, we couldn't get an engineering school. We know this.
Did you
My
notice?
favorite-
Did you notice? Engineers are kind of like MDs in that way. They want to make sure everybody can just clear
Just
who is
everybody.
and who's not.
Does anybody need an engineer? Does anybody need a valve built?
Want to be
right
clear,
now?
those two guys over there, that guy down there, he's not an engineer, and this guy's not an engineer either. I just want to let you know that.
My favorite was J Buddy a couple weeks ago, where it doesn't matter what the school is ranked if you don't go to class.
Was that me saying that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I did not go to class very often.
Haikus.
No, it was not
Did you play
haiku. So this
wiffle
time I
ball and
decided to
basketball?
challenge people. I said, tonight I request a few lines of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" Purdue edition, and I said not to let me down. So let's go and see what we got here. We have a couple things that are not. They did not follow the rules, but that's okay. You can ask any questions you want. Justin Densborn says, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even move." I like that one. J.A. Wood
good.
says, "These are I like when you can whip together, like you said, it's an engineering school. Listen to this though. Now Edie, now Ivy, now Sasha and Zay, on Morton, on Caleb, on Newman and Trey. From the top of the key to the top of the lane, make your shots, make them again." Okay,
It's good. It's very good.
Okay.
It's beautiful. Brought to
I don't know if the kind of rhythm was right at the end there, but the beginning was beautiful. Beautiful. It's kind of like Purdue's beginning of the season. We just hit a little bit of a rough spot.
Paul Hankey, longtime friend of the program, says, "'Twas the night before the Final Four, and all through Bourbon Street, not a capital H Hoosier was stirring, for in the first round they'd been beat. But the Boilers fans were all hanging in bars with great cheer, for they knew that soon champions would play near." That one is a fictional story. It assumes IU will be in the tournament. Zay Thompson, thank you for helping with that, Steve. I tripped on that. You know when you're reading things, you're not listening to what it sounds like. You're reading the word, so I wasn't picking that up. We also have some Greg McManus, another friend of the show. He asked a question. Can we remember a National Signing Day class this packed with talent? Not even considering the transfers who also signed. And it feels like you've been following it pretty closely, more than we have. I mean, I know we see what's going on, but there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of movement.
It's a very solid class. Here's the thing that you guys see. I hate recruiting, and the reason I hate recruiting is the years of Hazel and Hope when we'd lose the guys who had been verbaled for like a year. They lost the guy who played safety for Notre Dame. They lost the receiver who now plays for the Redskins. Pardon me, the football team in Washington. It happened over and over, right? Where they lost that guy. They lost Roy Roundtree, who went to Michigan. See, I remember these things.
Okay? Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
They were lousy. They were lousy. So I grew to hate recruiting. But what's happened under Brom is the signing class is actually what you think it's going to be plus. It's never a minus.
And then there's like, little like sprinkles.
Yeah, sprinkles of fun. I love it. I love it. This recruiting class is rock solid. You have 3 stars and a couple 4 stars. There's nobody super weak. Tons of big, beautiful linemen. Both defensive tackles, offensive tackles, guards.
Big boys. Give me the big boys.
More receivers.
Let's go.
Transfer receivers. A couple transfer receivers that are like,
bring up Mitch Wright's comment real quick. Bring up Mitch Wright's comment. Just
which one?
McLaurin was yes. Okay.
Wait, McLaurin was a verbal to us.
Yes. McLaurin was a long-time verbal with Purdue, like 2 months verbal with Purdue. And this is the thing that ripped my heart out so bad. I'm a Cathedral grad. I really don't like Cathedral, but McLaurin is a Cathedral guy. He was an all-in Purdue guy. He was one of those recruits that was recruiting other players. Rah, think great. He does a Nike, whatever they call it, a Spark camp, I think. Can't remember what it was called back then. And he just was off the charts. He did awesome. And Ohio State's like, they flipped him a nickel, said, "Hey, little guy, you want to come to Ohio State, be the 5th or 6th best receiver? Sure, you'll be number 1 at Purdue as a freshman." And he bit, and he was gone. That was it. I don't super blame the guy because things were kind of bleak back then, but it pissed me off because he had been an all-in Purdue guy for months, and that was hard to swallow. That's all.
So Purdue getting all those additional recruits and new weapons, having an experienced quarterback out there.
Is there any news? Is there any news for the quarterback?
You will not find it from the source on Twitter. I can tell you that because he's wisely
awesome.
away from all social media.
He should try to see if AOC is available.
That would be good because he'd be like, "It's a good idea. I'll try that."
Well, the funny thing is that this is the thing. The controversy comes by. Okay, so in case you didn't figure this out, Jay and I lean a little right. Anish leans a little left. Okay, we'll just tell you a little stuff. But we all think it's funny that he called himself AOC on Twitter. We all do, and so we ran with it. We said AOC because he called himself AOC on Twitter, and then he pulled the plug on all of his social media accounts, all of them. But we have run with it because we're like, he called himself, we'll keep with it. And it's funny. It's good. We're going to keep going with it. Okay. And now let's go to the next step. Now this guy, he is clearly the starter. It's the first time Purdue will go into the season with a starting quarterback into camp, spring, summer. Let's go. This is different. This is fun. I mean, and now they've got 700 receivers to throw it to.
The biggest thing too is, see, I think the way that bowls are organized now is that it is like, unfortunately, it is kind of a glorified scrimmage, and
there's too many damn bowls. We all can agree on that.
And it's not even that there are too many. It's like it's a month and a half away,
sure.
And so it's like, why keep them on for that? Keep players that are going to leave on for that long. There's no incentive for them to play.
Right.
But in our current reality, what it does give is AOC more practice time for next year. It gives the depth that's going to come behind the players that aren't playing. In particular, did you say Horvath wasn't playing either?
Horvath's not playing.
So it'll get, to give.
He's training for the Senior Bowl, the Hula Bowl, I believe. Yeah. And then he's getting ready to move his stock.
Running back depth, you can get a little creative there. Wide receiver depth, like you can try to play, you can experiment with who's going to be the number one target next year. Now that Bell is gone, maybe, like you said in the quick cast down, maybe we see Yanni in place, pass rushing from a step behind where George usually is, or maybe we see him and drop back. We'll see him.
Opportunity. Let's do something fun.
It'll be a fun game. It's not the most opportune, pick in terms of against Tennessee in Nashville, but it is what it is.
So did you guys listen to Brahm's comments on his show or during the presser yesterday?
The presser?
No.
Okay. So he just had a quick, post-practice interview yesterday. It's the first one I've seen in a while. He had the Jeff Brahm show today. I watched it right before we came on. And here's what I hear Jeff Brahm saying, which I don't love. He says, let's keep it close because we don't have to come back from a long way down from Tennessee. That's not the most confidence-inspiring, inducing thing that I've heard from Purdue's head coach. And he's also said this is a great opportunity for young guys to get moved in, to see some new things, to see some guys do some stuff they wouldn't have done. Especially for a guy who I've already purchased a ticket. Yeah, I don't love that. So I'd like to see them beat Tennessee. Call me old-fashioned. That's
why you play the game. Why do you play the game, Herm?
You play to win the game. You play to win the game.
Absolutely. So, you don't play just to play.
Nope. Play to win the game.
I think we have a couple of people in the margins asking if just clarifying our comments on whether we're happy that AOC is coming back. We could not be more thrilled.
That's
continuity. Like, we started the season not really all being sold on his arm, not being sold on him as the starting guy.
I'll admit, I was wrong.
I don't think any of us called for him being the starting guy. Nope. And by the end of the year, we were quietly begging for him to come back.
You and I will go back to, you and I were sitting.
Yep.
In first row seats that you did not complain about, as I recall, or mock me for buying.
Because if I'm sitting in my loyalty can be bought for a low price of one ticket.
And he was wearing, I still don't understand what was happening. He was not involved.
Like a traffic vest.
He was wearing a traffic vest, but not near. The other quarterbacks would all talk to Brahm, talk to the coaches. and he was
He's
just
just
like
wandering.
walking around with a clipboard in his traffic vest,
with his
like,
hands behind his back,
disengaged.
quietly disengaged.
Play, and then the second half, we're like, oh, look, he's in, but it's 42-0, so, or whatever.
But
So
do you remember what he did when he came in? He
he
they
was
were
flawless.
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Continuity for the first time at quarterback with real weapons, with a line that's going to get just one more year older instead of having to fill, gaps, a line that's going to build some depth with, new player, new weapons on defense. These are all good things. We are allowed to have good
Oh,
things and not
I'm
want
so
something new.
excited for next football
It's
season.
and next football season, we'll get into this later, but the schedule isn't that bad.
Oh, I can't wait.
Over under is 9.5, gentlemen.
Oh,
Is 12 over or under 9.5?
win them
I'm
all
in.
baby.
Year of the Boilermaker 2022.
It is. It's the year of the Boilermaker. We by the way, I don't know. Well, we haven't really dug in deep with Dave and Michael, who might or might not write for the site still. But I don't know where they stand. Michael would be the funniest to ask because he's always the doomsdayer. He'll go
Yes.
right. Oh, I don't know if they can run the ball. No kidding. They haven't been able to run the ball for years.
It's okay. Michael's doomsday is going to be 8 wins next year. It'll be
Right. What a
love
horrible. You're exactly
that
right,
he
Anish.
recorded himself making fun of me for dreaming of 8 wins. He put it down on tape. It's awesome. And
Exactly. He's literally raised you to a place where you can put a little bronze statue of you for your 8-win prediction.
I don't even remember doing it. And he's like, one crazy guy who usually flies with a private jet. I'm like, oh, he's talking about me. Okay, here we go. Yeah. That idiot said 8 wins. I think they lost one game, and he was ready to. He had a dumpster fire behind him.
The funny thing is, like, all of us kind of pointed as 8 wins was the ideal or the really, really perfect season.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, if everything went great, and it'll be good. Just like Purdue, undefeated national title basketball was the perfect season. We might not quite hit there. It might just be 1 or 2 losses before the national title.
Won't.
But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. 1 or 2 losses before a national title. I think the national title counts the same. So I think we'll be good. Butler, are you is our indie correspondent going to
he hates this event so much.
I know.
Sorry.
You don't want to say goodbye to it?
You
don't want to kiss it?
Purdue is so good.
I love Gainbridge, but I would burn.
You're not going to go
that
because of the
down.
chance that Purdue loses. You won't be able to handle it.
I can't handle it. I can't handle that group. It's
I
like
know.
It's like a super group of idiots. I can't handle them.
Super idiots.
So many of them. So many
come
brands.
on. You'd love watching them. Dude, I was just in a building where team beat the number 1 team in the nation. That is a different experience. Like,
hey, it's the first time you've experienced that.
First time a lot of, almost, let's see, you're in a group of about, 20 that were with you?
Oh, there was a lot of Purdue people there.
Really?
It was impressive.
Purdue,
I'd say there were
Club NYC is pretty good, right?
Yeah. There were a lot of Purdue people there. There were a lot in, relatively speaking, at Brooklyn.
Did you guys see? You were there, Jay. Anish, you watched the game on TV. The thing that was noteworthy to me was when they went to dead ball before it looked like before Purdue got the ball in their last possession.
We're talking about NC State?
No, we're talking about Rutgers.
Okay.
Before Trey hit the game winner, just to see Harper hit the game winner, they were showing the Rutgers fans and students. They kind of panned the crowd, and people were like, oh my gosh, is this going to happen? I can't believe they're going to be a number 1 Purdue team. And we're all like, a number 1 Purdue team? That's intriguing, right? They literally were like, this is the greatest thing. This could not be a better night. And we were all like,
oh. They literally were saying that. There was a guy screaming into his phone as we went outside saying, I'm never going to forget this game. I was like, it wasn't that good of a game, but
see, this is where we are. We're the hunted. That's fine. I'm good with being in this
Love
spot.
it.
That's different. It's a different feeling.
Really
and like I said to you, as I said in the quick cast, you're still the hunted in the top 5.
Oh, yeah.
You're still the hunted in the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
When you're third, everybody still wants you, and everybody still wants to rush the court. They want that bad.
And having been number 1, actually, that lingers a little. This team was number 1. This team was recently they have one loss, and they were number 1 2 weeks ago or a week ago. Like, that's, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's going to linger. But I think I remember you said after that game, Painter, I didn't see the press conference. I was just trying to get out of there alive. Mm-hmm. And you said he was saying stuff like, You said he didn't sound the least bit upset about it. And I think
No,
we
he
all
wasn't.
agreed. Guys like
wasn't.
Painter, guys like Saban, they love a loss that they can just say, "Oh, you guys aren't ready. Look at you.
Right.
You're not." And I almost
Right.
think this team had to learn. They didn't know how to play as. And he's pointed out some of these guys first
They
true
were
road
gripping,
game
man.
with
They were
fans,
gripping. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For some of these guys, and they're doing it as number one. A lot of growing up to do, and hopefully that's it. That's the growing pains. But they're still going to be hunted, like you said.
Somebody had a great point. I think it was
all year.
Newbert. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe you guys heard this. Somebody said a week of home practice, meaning on your practice court where Painter can chew on you and kick your ass, and there's not weird travel schedules and all that stuff, is really, really important to Purdue right now. So this week is really pivotal. And I tend to agree.
If they come out looking like we expect them to look on Saturday, then you think, okay, those were what happens in December, last week, right? I mean,
I didn't love, I'll be honest, I didn't love, like, those vignettes that I love that they do them. I love the fact that Purdue's been highly ranked, so we've been able to see these, but I didn't love a super loose, yucky, funny group of Purdue players going into Brooklyn, just like, yeah, hey, look at us. This is fun. Like, you just got beaten by Rutgers. I'd like you to have a little bit of seriousness here because it would show me that you're sobered by that loss, right? I want to see that at some point. I want to see them sobered enough that they're like, okay, we're pissed and we're a better team than what we showed. And now we're going to show you guys, right?
Not too high, not too low. Joe Tiller's special.
That's right. The Joe Tiller special. And Painter's big on that philosophy overall too, right? So
did you see the comment in the sidebar? I don't know if you saw that exchange on Twitter this week. Vortex says, I heard Painter is soft. Painter is soft now because Trey is wearing a headband. So there's some Purdue guy out there with 3 followers who has been beating on Trey of all people.
Trey's great. Shut your damn hole.
And saying he's looked noticeably less serious about his game since he started wearing a headband. And you
Trey's
can't
badass.
After a few, you're like, okay, this is a bit, right? And then he keeps going and he keeps getting into it with people, and you're like, wait, because there are people out there who believe things like that, right?
Oh yeah.
They fixate on something stupid and then they just won't let it go. Greg McManus says he told him it was joking. Yeah, people tend to do that too when
after they've been depantsed,
pilloried by people. Yeah, they kind of go, you guys, Kyrie Irving doesn't think the world's flat. I was kidding, everyone.
Exactly.
Got to lighten up a little bit. Yeah. I'm sure he was joking.
So I have a neighbor. He's an IU grad. His wife's an IU grad. His daughter played soccer at IU, and his son played tennis at IU. Okay. My next door neighbor.
Great.
He's awesome, actually.
Is he the one who floods your lawn?
No. That's the old house. This guy's great.
Oh, okay.
He's honestly a great neighbor by any measure. Great neighbor. The other day, it was today. He says, so I watched Purdue. I said, he sent me a text. It was great. Purdue loses to Rutgers. And he said, wow, I saw that game. I said, well, not every team can just lose a game, not just blow a 22-point lead to lose a game. And I was like, he doesn't get that I'm pretty battle tested in this stuff, right? We deal with it every day. So I have retorts ready. And I did.
Of course.
And he said, touche. And then I just went into a litany of why Purdue deserved to lose. Anyway, but he says to me, I don't know. I'm not too impressed by Trey Williams. I said, you're not watching enough of Trey Williams. I said, that guy is a beast. And you're going to see him up close in Assembly Hall, and he's going to kick IU's ass this year because this guy is motivated. He's the straw that stirs this drink.
It's a senior tradition now. Man. Nobody loses to IU anymore. They just go in there and wipe the floor with IU. It's kind of a rite of passage at Purdue. It's like hitting the drum at halftime.
I am a firm believer. I said this to you guys last year. You guys didn't agree with me. I still believe it. I'm just going to say this until it happens. They just got to lose one. They got to lose one. And I mean, IU's not a bunch of co-rec players. So I have a hard time believing they just get me.
Yeah, maybe
next year.
I think here's the thing. If I were IU and I see the way, it's not just that, IU gets talent. That's not a big deal. And I know that's all they see is talent. Even their football team, they're cheating right now to get talent. I will stand on that. They just won 2 games. They lost their offensive coordinator and they got the 25th best recruiting class. Bull crap is what I'm going to say. So I'll say that here on this podcast. That's garbage. That doesn't happen. It's IU. You're recruiting to Bloomington. Nobody cares about that place. There are no fans there. My neighbors are good fans. There's about 7 IU football fans. Somehow they're getting recruits, whatever. Okay. So, but Purdue basketball, they are building the culture continues better. And I have a Purdue fan friend that said Purdue is at the point now where you lose a pro and you gain a pro in 2 years. They are recruiting in a way that now there's a rhythm. And guess what? Somebody said this earlier in the margin. They said, is that 5-star guy about to announce that he's going to come to Purdue? Well, guess what? Purdue's going to get their best point guard ever in the history of the program very soon. If you guys haven't paid attention, you're not on Gold and Black, I'm not going to mention names. It's going to happen. And this kid reminds me of Suggs from Gonzaga. He is a mother. He is long. He is athletic. He is underrated because he got injured a year ago. He's going to be one of those guys that you're just praying for signing day because he's that good. He also is, I'm not going to say where he's from. He also has connections to Purdue. This guy's coming to Purdue. He's ridiculously skilled. He's a year away. Okay. He's coming in the class of, am I right? 23?
23. Yep.
23. This is what Purdue does now.
And there's a
and they have Lawyer coming in next year who can hit from the doors of the gym.
You include Kaufman, Trey Kaufman-Renn. This is a 6-person class next year. So like let's
go.
After they win the title and all of that,
we don't rebuild, we reload.
Exactly.
Things are different, guys. Things are different, and the dam is going to break. I've been saying this since they lost to Virginia. These two guys can both attest to this. I'm not a shiny rainbow guy. I don't believe everything's going to work out. The Final Four is coming. It is coming. If not this year, it's coming in the next 2 or 3. But I think it's coming this year.
Undefeated national champions. We can go back in time and revise that.
I don't care. I'll take a championship and a loss to Rutgers. Just like we talked about the fact that Virginia traded being the first team to lose to a 16 for a national title a year later.
Yeah.
Everybody would most people would take that, I think. Not everybody. That's a tough.
Being the butt of jokes for a little bit to win a national
Nobody
title.
thinks about it now. That's for sure. Nobody cares now. If you don't win the title,
it's just like the Ray Allen shot, the Miami Heat. That's the hardest way that, the Spurs lost the title. And it doesn't matter because they came back the next year and kicked everybody,
and won the title.
out of the way and won the title. So it's like if that redemption arc, helps soothe the wounds. Yeah. But we're not going to need it. We're going to win the title.
But this team is on the shoulders of greatness. This is the whole thing, guys. You guys are both old enough to have suffered long. Everybody in the margin, except for Jared, my pal over here, is old enough to have suffered through some bullcrap, right? Even Jared, he's a generational Purdue fan. I know him. I've known him since he was 5. But we all get it, right? As Purdue got to number 1, and then as they climb and they get past the round of 8, these type of things are like, okay, something is different. Something. They're chipping away at history. They're chipping away at the problems the program has had. Jay said it years ago. Jay said it in 2018 when they lost in Louisville. You're like, that type of loss breaks your spirit, right? Losing to Virginia when you're up 2.9 seconds and Final Four is tantalizingly close, you can smell it and you don't get there. That stuff hurts, but it's all a process. It's all getting you there to me. So
I would like to close this. I'm going to actually take direction from a reader. Steve McCabe points out that there is one more Twas the Night Before Christmas out there, and it fits so nicely with everything you were just saying. It's synergy around here, just like that logo that was on your screen before when we weren't able to start.
That's right. Well, we couldn't get me on. Yeah.
He says, "'Twas the night before signing day, and all through God's country, not a creature was stirring, not even a Swami. When what to my wondering eyes should appear, Coach Brom with a bag full of Croots coming here." I like that he said bag of Croots, not of something else. "Come Brady, come Joe, come a whole host of boilers. Assemble," called Jeff and his staff. "Let's play football." And the whole Boiled Sports crew and all of Purdue Nation knew the good times were here for the rest of creation. That might be a long time, but I'll take it.
It's a long time.
I'll take it. National titles from now until,
in everything.
Exactly. We'll be good.
Well, it's refreshing to think things are a possibility to me.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's literally, it's not
good
like
times.
No, good times. I mean, Jay and I used to when it was just he and I and Tim, years and years ago. Some of you were with us, and it was like, who was going to be the person who was the downer, right? Who was going to just say, it's not happening this year, right?
We took turns because we all felt that way.
Right, exactly. And we all took turns being an optimist, being a pessimist, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like you're kind of like, I think it's smart to say, okay, what do I see? Assess that, and what is the next logical step based on what I see, based on the reality, right?
Right.
There is lots of reason to have hope, just tons of it, right? You've got very veteran coach on basketball, very good recruiting pipelines. Culture is being developed in both sports, and winning is becoming the norm,
Right.
especially in basketball. We expect teams to, if not win the Big Ten title, to contend, to be very, very good, to come out in January, have their crap together after a couple of months of like floundering around. This year's a little bit different. So if they follow that, and they've already done their floundering around and they got to number one, fun stuff. Well,
anything else? I'd like to thank our sponsors again. AJ's Gridiron Metal, Martin Vintage.
Yep. Great sponsors. Good people. We can't, they're Purdue people. That's awesome to have them here. So, and thank you for the live listeners and the people that are just tuning in right now.
Well, as the deceased. Sorry, no, that's not what you meant.
We have very few dead listeners.
They don't shut the show off, though. I will say they listen to completion.
That's true.
You know what my grandfather would say if he were alive today?
What's that?
Help, let me out of this box. It's dark in here. See? There's this.
See, I've got two grandfathers. They're both cremated, so they wouldn't even say that.
Well, don't be literal. Don't be logical with my jokes.
Okay, sorry. But well, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks to everybody tuning in. Thanks for we're going to try to do this next week if work allows, if outside life allows. We'll probably try to get together again. Yep, and we'll next time we see you, Purdue will be. Again, they'll be in that 2-3 range, knocking on the door if they can handle their business week, which I think they will, in Indianapolis and in God's country right after. So, been a pleasure. Appreciate you guys. Hammer down. God bless you. I love you guys. Good night.